Hello everybody, my name is Hawk Nightwing, the most unapologetic Defender G5 you'll ever meet, and today, I want to do something a bit different. Today we're going to talk some pony news, because Equestria Daily has just revealed the future of G5, that being Tire Tail will continue into 2025. Let's dive into it. Before we begin, if you are new here and you are not subscribed to the channel, then what are you waiting for? We analysts appear to be a dying breed at the fandom, as mindless hate videos are all the rage now, so if you like what you see here and you want to see more, then feel free to slam that like button and subscribe to the channel for more basic funny content just like this. YouTube's algorithm works in mysterious ways. Small contributions like this make a huge difference in helping me grow. With that being said, let's see what the EQD gods have cooked up for us today. So a couple days back, the folks at Equestria Daily gave us another bombshell reveal. You thought the Tire Tail would just be the dominant show in just 2024? Well, apparently not. This slide celebrating 40 years of LMP gives us a lot to unpack. And yes, I'm aware I'm late to the party, but school is a real pain in the... For one, apparently Make Your Mark was in the top 10 kid shows of October 2022, meaning it had to have a ton of viewership numbers in order to be that high. And all I can say to that is, I told you all so. Well boys, the Make Your Mark flop narrative is officially dead, as we now have definitive proof that the show was 100% a success for Hasbro. That makes me extremely happy, as you all know how much I've defended this show, and to know Hasbro considers it a hit overall is absolutely fantastic to know. But that's not the only thing we have here. Now for the big news. Tire Tail will continue into 2025, and that apparently means that Season 2 will last 2 years, as did Season 1. In what I believe to be an interview, Kristen McKay had this to say on the matter, saying, "We took home a Kidscreen Award for Best Digital Series earlier this year, and we've surpassed 177 million lifetime views since launch, scoring big in US, Latin America, EMEA, and Southeast Asia." She goes on to say that we are so confident in the power of this series that we just greenlit content for another 2 years from 2024, and a doubled up rollout that releases new episodes every week, as well as 4 longer form event specials throughout the year. Wow. Now is this good or bad for G5? Well, for me, I think it depends. I'm not as big on Tire Tail as I am for Make Your Mark, you guys know that already, but the fact that 4 specials are planned makes me think that there will be some sort of narrative arc that the writers will be attempting to tell. And that is good, okay? I commend that. This is a sort of phase 2 for this generation, if we want to use MCU terminology. I think Tire Tail absolutely has the power to carry this generation, if we just tweak a few things about it. If they have a new arc plan with a new antagonist, I think people will warm up to this new future. Because a lot of Tire Tail episodes are fantastic, and some are even peak quality like Sparkle School. I mean, they didn't get that award for nothing. I absolutely see why Tire Tail won the accolades it did, even if most don't. And the fact we're getting weekly releases instead of bi-weekly proves that Hasbro now wants Tire Tail to be its main show. And as I said, that's not a bad thing in itself. I mean, they obviously have a plan, and I think we should wait and see what this next phase of Gen 5 has to offer before we jump to any conclusions. That being said, there are some drawbacks, and I also have a huge concern about where they're going. There's a lot of uncertainty here, and I want to be optimistic. But I also have a slight sneaking suspicion that Hasbro might be forgetting why we fell in love with this generation in the first place. Now, I've expressed this multiple times in the past, and I still stand by it. This generation started with 3D CGI animation. Some of the most intriguing narratives came from its CGI content. But with this move to 2D, I don't know. Not to mention, I do prefer 3D animation over 2D animation. Not only does it allow you to see the texture and the characters' designs in the world, but the photorealism allows the world to feel more real and lived in, and I've always appreciated that. Even in the worst CG preschool shows, you can still marvel at the attempt. CG animation just has this appeal to it that 2D doesn't when it comes to visual presentation. Now, I know there's a controversial statement, as nowadays, people are so nostalgic for 2D animation that they hate any CG reboot regardless of its quality. But there was always something special about a new generation being CGI, in that it was the first fully formed MLP narrative sporting CGI animation. And yeah, Make Your Mark kind of uphill battle to climb with its animation quality after the first special, but the point is that it got there. It proved itself. Not just for improving the animation, but improving the writing as well. The best G5 content was 3D CGI animation. Now with Tire Tail taking the spotlight, it feels like we're moving away from the CG animation that made this generation stand out, and more towards making it fit in with the rest of generations being in 2D. G5 is effectively losing what made it stand out from a visual standpoint, and I feel like Hasbro wants to move away from the longer form narratives as there are only 4 22-minute specials. And even though I love Tire Tail, the writing just isn't the same as Making Your Mark 95% of the time. And that worked then, but only because the two shows are balancing each other out, with Make Your Mark being the plot-focused narrative, entire tale allowing us to know these characters on a personal level. And with only one left in the foreseeable future, and a slightly inferior one to boot, I think there is a slightly reasonable cause for concern, alright? Unlike the G5 hate, I can see why some are thinking that this generation is doomed. Because like Manny R commented on my fact check short, G5 may not be ending officially, but it's ending when it's arguably the best G5 content when it comes to shows. And they have a point. We knew that Make Your Mark, being a story-focused show with a singular narrative, had a natural ending point. It was never about the animation being too expensive, or the show not having enough viewership, like many in the fandom tried to falsely push. No, there was a plan for this show from the beginning, and it was never going to be FIM. It wasn't. It was never planned out that way. It was a limited series with a set amount of episodes telling one singular, coherent narrative arc. But even then, it still feels like we're losing something in a way. Gone are the days of CGI with a new generation, Make Your Mark and Netflix, and in comes the age of Tired Tale and YouTube. And it just doesn't feel the same. People like longer form content. I think it's insulting to imply that kids don't have the attention spans for longer form narratives, considering Across the Spider-Verse this year finally broke the under 2 hours runtime curse plaguing a lot of animated movies, and was a full-on epic spanning 2 hours and 15 minutes. And that movie made the big buck, and rightfully so. Yeah, there's controversy surrounding it now because Lord and Miller were acting like dicks to their VFX artists, but that doesn't take away from Across's merits. Movies like these had the guts to go long form, and tell a story for all ages, and people showed up for it. And if you want a more relevant example, FIM itself. That show had full-on seasons spanning 26 episodes with 22-minute runtimes, and it was successful for a full decade. Heck, even Make Your Mark being in the top 10 kids shows should tell you something. Kids stayed to watch because the stories were engaging and the lessons were brilliantly conveyed. I think we're losing something big now. The 5-minute runtime formula that the Toy Tales episodes have works, but there's only so much you can do in that time, and unless you have a story that can fit that runtime, as has been proven in some cases, then you're compromising a lot. Now, of course, there's still the possibility that we all may be proven wrong, and Toy Tale may push out more consistently good episodes. And to that I say, all power to it. Because even though I have my reservations, I'm not going to be jumping on any hate trains. I am still going to 100% stick with this generation through thick and thin, because my mission is to show people why they should invest their time in it. Because you know what? Even if Toy Tale hasn't matched the quality of Make Your Mark, it still has good writing. As I stated before, there have been some legitimately fantastic episodes, and I do believe that there's a genuine chance that the writers will up the quality of the series, now that it's the sole fuel keeping the G5 train going. And as I said, we need to wait and see how exactly this turns out before making any definitive judgment on it. Sorry if I was a bit negative towards the latter half, but I do see the cause for concern. But I still believe in Tired Tale, and I believe it's engaging enough that I can carry G5 towards the future. Honestly, the fact that G5 has been confirmed to continue is something to be celebrated in itself. I wanted nothing more than to spit in the faces of all who said G5 was ending, especially because I heard it so often that even I started to believe it for a time. But then, right after people started jumping on this conspiracy hate train, it got renewed for another year, therefore disproving their false narratives. That made me so happy. And a YouTube web series has been proven to work. Just look at the Object Show Committee, or the OSC, where these talented animators have been creating shows like Battle for Dream Island and Anatomy Insanity for decades that have captured the imaginations of so many. And these aren't even professional studios, these are fans. Animators who have a passion for reality TV and made something amazing out of it. I think we should give Tired Tale the chance it deserves to prove itself despite everything. Because if there's one thing I know for certain, whenever I put my faith in Generation 5, it has always been rewarded. But what do you all think? How does the fact that Tired Tale is the future of G5 make you feel? Do you think that we may be headed towards rock bottom? Or do you think, like me, that they could prove all the doubters wrong? I certainly have the benefit of seeing my investment in one G5 show pay off, so I think it's time we let its overshadowed shorter counterpart get its due. Whatever you think, feel free to let me know in the comments below. This is Hawk Nightwing signing out until next time. Hoof to heart.